Hello and welcome to this City Skylines tutorial called Blackwater. This will be episode 1. We'll be starting from scratch and we'll end at a boomtown. We'll be using no mods of any significance. We'll of course have the chirper exterminator, the tree brush and the access all tiles option. I'll be playing on the Blackwoods map, which is in every City Skylines custom game included. We'll be fast forwarding this, and there we start. First things first, pause the game and survey the map. Things to look for are water access, railroad access. And now one of the reasons I actually made this tutorial is because most tutorials will have you believe that you have to start building around the highway access ramp. I do not agree. I just connect them and that's that. I like to start my cities way off from the highway access ramp, but at the most natural location for a city to spring up, which is of course near the natural resources, in this case the water and maybe the fertile land. When I build in the beginning, I actually only use the normal 2-lane roads. I also make use of a specific unit. Most people would like to use the 10 unit tile because that closes up everything and that makes most efficient use of space. But I do not care about the efficient use of space. I use an 11 tile unit, which as you can see leaves space in the middle of every street, so all the houses will not be cramped up together as such, and this is the most efficient way to make use of the water pipes. I can now put out the water pipes nicely underneath the roads, which in my view is the most realistic place for water pipes to be, because they need to be accessible for maintenance and such. I'll be also building my industrial area a little bit. Again, just using the 2-lane roads, which are more than enough for the early stages of this game. Again, using my 11 tile unit and accessing this to what will be later on an avenue or even a 6-lane road, and there I go with a 12 tile space. Later on this will all make sense, but the upgrade will make use of an extra tile, and you will see how nicely the water pipe system will fit in. To connect the two places, I do not like to use the straight road but the curved road, because normally when you drive through something the roads are not completely straight as such. That's a little bit boring. And when you now drive in the first person mode over that road, the camera will go around a little bit. That is beautiful. Connecting some pipes, and here you see already that maybe if you look a little bit ahead and connect the other side, how efficient these water pipes now are, because they actually just overlap minimal. This is a new part of the game that I like to play for myself, like a game inside the game. I install the necessary utilities at the beginning, but I do not connect them yet. I try to save some costs on power lines, but yeah, it's also fun to connect stuff later on, because needs are met in a certain order. So my preparations are all about done. Just the power line, which comes in the vicinity of what will be the early in the residential area. Now I just adjust my budgets. This really is a good trick. It saves tons of money in the beginning of the game, which will um, how do you say prevent the need of any loans that you might take. We'll start the simulation, and with the first arrival of citizens, the needs for commercial area and industrial area soon will also be sparked. But now I like to transport electricity as much downwards as possible. And as you see, for the first connection, it's now just a small one. And much closer, the electricity will not come to this drainage system. So let's connect it. Connect the pipes. And now oh, I missed it. There, I got it. Also connect the pipe to the water pumping station, and now see what, yeah, this is probably a little fluke in the game, but as soon as I connect it, it will for one time meet the demand of water. There's demand of water now, and now it's gone. And the timer for water is now reset, and it will take some time before people really leave their houses, and I probably have connected the water way before that happens. As you can see, my first layout is actually with normal roads only. You'll see that up to late in the game, these roads are efficient enough to, how to say, have easy access to every transportation or industrial traffic, because the industrial traffic does not interfere with the residential traffic yet. And at this moment, there are just residents arriving, which will flow one time through the industrial area, and that's okay. We have reached Little Hamlet. This unlocks new possibilities. One is raising taxes, which we'll immediately do to 12%, which is the general consensus on most forums. Raising the taxes this high actually only generates a maximum cash flow. If you would put it a little bit lower, you'll make the game a little more challenging for yourself, but it does not really interfere gameplay as such. It doesn't make citizens more or less happy, actually. Only if taxes are too high, they will refuse paying it or even leave your city. Here again, there will be a connection to a avenue or a 6-lane road, so that's a 12-tile connection. Placing the landfill should be done carefully, because as most people know, as soon as there's some dirt in it, it will be hard to empty it and to replace it. But also on the other hand, do not forget that as soon as you'll have your incinerators, you'll probably empty your landfill and destroy it, because they're ugly, and I have not met many fans of the landfill yet. Residential demand and commercial demand are rising, and with this residential area, electricity now also be transported to that part. We'll now be placing the school. The elementary school and every educational facility has a huge impact on the development of your city. Schooling will raise the level of housing as one of the demands are met in your city. It will make educated workers, which in turn can raise your industrial level, and also higher level houses are the more wealthy clients that higher commercial buildings like to attract. So it's like a threefold effect you'll have on the school. The medical clinic does not have such a big impact, but it's just one of the requirements met for the first level up in housing, which you actually like to pursue because that makes your city even more efficient. We have reached Worthy Village, which unlocks the police and the fire station. Also, especially the fire station is a really essential utility, but also the police station you cannot go without. So installing them will be our next task. I placed the first fire station just halfway the industrial area and the residential area, so no big fires will break out, but it actually does not provide the coverage needed to upgrade the residential area, but that will be an issue in the next video. Now I've connected like a backup power line, but I am really stubborn and impatient, as you will see soon. Placing the police station, but first making sure that it will not interfere with my other district. Law and order. Starting position now really takes shape. There's the central square in the middle, and we'll have 3 adjacent neighborhoods of residential areas, which can later on expand in any direction. Here you see my example of stubbornness. I remove a piece of power line. Actually already just installed a backup power line, but I probably forget about it or something. And as soon as I build here, connect it, it's actually redundant. That's my relationship with power lines. But as you see also, the first pipes I put out for the water system are now fully used. Also, the profits of the city are already nicely rising and will reach almost maximum efficiency for this starting setup. I now zone a district so I can name and put some policies in effect. This is my heavy industry district. Sometimes I really make elaborate teams of names, but sometimes I just call them as I see them. And this gives the options to preserve some power, which in effect makes it possible to run with one coal station all the way to the advanced wind turbine, which is my favorite power unit. Wind turbines and solar plants in combination will be the power of my city in the future. This is the first residential area. There will be no policies in effect yet, but I like to name them soon enough. This is the waterfront district, or in this case the waterfront square, because it's close to the water. And there we go. Here we have the central square and the residential areas. Most people like to separate their commercial areas from their residential areas. I specifically don't do that. I like to mix them up a bit, but put the commercial areas in the zones where noise is not enough. It doesn't matter. So the school and the highway, a school gives some noise. Central Square can be commercial, and for the rest, the main streets which go around my residential area, they'll be packed with commercial buildings, but then also be close by any residential area, so you can do your shopping close by. That's how it goes. You don't travel all the way to a special area to go to do some shopping. You like to do that close by, or at least, as far as I know, most cities in Europe do have that setup. We all unlock the beautification possibilities and the high school. The high school, again, just like with the elementary school, it provides higher educated workers. It will upgrade housing, and in turn will generate a lot of upgrades in both residential and industrial areas. Adjusting the budget to back to 100%, which makes run all the utilities most efficient. I don't know if you know this, but if you up the how to say, if you go to 120% budget, actually the buildings only give 110% output, and if you go down to say the 50%, they'll give only 25% output. So you really get a penalty for up how to say, overclocking or underusing your utilities. Having them actually at 100% is advisable. The water units are not that expensive, so if they overclock a little bit, that's less expensive than your power units. As you can see, I actually have just used a couple of tiles of Avenue. If not in the first place, that really saves a lot of cash, because avenues are expensive compared to roads, and at the moment they have not really a function actually yet. I do like to build them now, especially when they're straight, and I can upgrade them later with the beautification road, but at the moment it'll do. It'll have to do. Expanding on the industrial area. Again, I have just laid some extra pipe, but the starting setup was that efficient that for most places it was not necessary until now. This probably be it soon for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll continue on this city with a couple of videos more, I hope, and going through actually every aspect of the game. Now I just actually shown my starting setup. This is, in my eyes, in my opinion, it's one of the most fun parts of the game. Just setting up, starting your city small, having it run efficiently, so you generate a lot of cash, and you'll run through the first stages in just actually an hour or so. There we reach Boomtown. We now have the recycling policy, which is the one policy I use citywide. We now also have the advanced wind turbine in the cemetery, and of course the bus depot. Later on that, in the next episode of this tutorial, I say goodbye for now and hope to see you at the next one, where we'll all be having a spliff together. Bye.